We are making kefir. We're making it tonight from fresh goat milk, but this same recipe, you can make it the same way with cow's milk, and I guess that's about the only thing other thing you would make it, but with cow's milk. We're very fortunate in our area to have a woman who raises goats, and so we buy the milk directly from her, so it's just exceptionally fresh. One thing about making kefir is that the fresher your milk is, the better the quality of your kefir. If you have old milk, you'll find that your finished product will ferment. It'll be fizzy. Whereas if it's fresh, it'll be smooth and tart, but you won't have the fizz.
Okay, and now
Here we have our kefir grains. This is a living culture. In between times of using the kefir grains, you'll keep it in clean water, covered, and in your refrigerator. Being careful not to freeze it because remember, it is a living culture. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain these grains and rinse them off with fresh water. Now we're rinsing off the kefir grains to get any excess residue that's on them off of them before we use them. I'm usually very careful not to touch them because I feel the oils on my skin may contaminate them and may cause some kind of disease or something to get in the colony. Okay, so you see them. When I started out, the kefir grain I had was about the size of the top of my little finger, and they have grown this much. Every time you put them in the milk, they feed and they grow, so they get larger and larger.
you mean in the milk that you're going to put them in now?
Correct.
Okay.
Now we're going to make the kefir. I use a plastic spoon because I feel it's the least contaminated of spoons. For example, if you have a kitchen and there may be leftover residue of soap on your kitchen spoons, and that is maybe harmful to the bacteria in your culture. So you take off your 2-quart jar, in this case, and you take and you scoop out your kefir grains. They're kind of spongy. They're certainly very solid little creatures, and you put them in the bottom.
Now, when you first started, you only had one of those, and
I had something about this size when I first started.
and you still made it with the whole quart? or-
Yes, and it's still and when you get your first grains, you'll only get a very few, and then you'll grow them. These grains have grown over 2 years. Since our goat milk lady is very generous, she usually gives us a little bit more than we'll need. Don't fill it right up to the top because tomorrow we're going to have to stir this. So we will need to have a little room to get the spoon in and lift up your grains throughout the milk. So what I do then is in the bottom of my kefir grains jar, I just put what's left.
But you could use water. You don't have to put milk in. Like if you didn't have enough, you would put water in there?
If I wanted to save them, I'm making kefir now. This will make kefir. So this is why I leave a few grains over there because I don't. My jar gets too full.
So that's going to be kefir too.
This will be kefir. Yes, it will be. Now, what we do. What I want to say before we end this step is that it's tremendously important that everything be kept very, very clean. Kefir requires a living culture, so the things the environment that it is in has to be very clean. So I wash out my jars and then I rinse them and rinse them and rinse them very, very thoroughly before putting in the milk and the kefir grains. Okay, so now what we do is we take our jars and we come over and we put these in our cupboard. Okay, and we put them there. These will sit now for at least for one day, and then tomorrow we'll come in and we'll stir the milk and the kefir grains and taste it. Perhaps it will be done. Usually I like to leave my kefir for a day and a half and sometimes 2. So it's up to you, but at that time we'll taste it and see how it tastes.
Like if you leave it in for 2 days, is it going to be thicker?
It will be. It will be thicker.
There.
All right. It's been 24 hours since the goat milk and the kefir grains have been together, and we're going to check and stir them and have a taste too to see what they taste like and how the fermentation process is going. I want to get another spoon there. Okay. Okay, so we take it down. And you'll see that there's the fat is on the top. So I'm going to stir this, getting to the bottom of the jar to make sure I get all those kefir grains moving. Now I'm using a clean plastic spoon that I've just gotten out of the package, and I'm also going to taste it. It's still pretty sweet. That means that it's not tart and fermented enough yet. So we've done our bit, we've stirred it, now we're going to put it back, having been stirred. And we'll also do the same with this.
Could you just shake that one?
Yeah, you could. Let's just do that.
Your spoon's already used.
Yeah. Okay. So, and now we'll put this back as well. All right, and they're going to sit there probably for another 12 to 15 hours. That should do it. But we'll check it then and see what's happening. We'll need a measuring cup. And then we'll bring our kefir from the cupboard.
So how many hours has it been now?
It's been 48, and in actual fact, it's a bit too long. It was ready this morning at probably about 11 o'clock. We could have taken it out. However, I had other errands, so that just didn't work out. So we're going to take this out, and you see that we have a lot of separation here. This is curds and whey. This is the whey is the clear part. The curds are the solids. Okay, so we'll get both of them out. Now let's have a couple of tasting glasses too. Okay, I've brought over some tasting glasses for us so that we can have a taste to see what the batch is like. Now you'll notice that it's very thick, and so what is best is to stir it to reconstitute the liquid and the solids where there's been that separation. Okay.
This is like liquidy yogurt.
Yeah, it is. You'll see little chunks of solids in there. Now, what we do is we'll take our strainer, because we don't want any of the any of the kefir grains to get in with our kefir, because we want to save them. And we also want to make it a smooth consistency. So we just shake it down. Okay, then we take our kefir and just pour it in. You see the kefir grains are here. They're very chewy. They're hard and kind of sinewy. Now this is goat milk, and you'll get the same results from cow's milk if you so desire. What fermentation does is that it breaks down the protein in milk and makes it much more easy to digest. Also, the fermentation process itself is very good for digestion. It adds friendly bacteria to the system, making digestion much easier. It's a great aid. And this is the primary reason that I use it. You see, look at those kefir grains. Boy, oh boy. See? Now they've been in there, they've been eating and multiplying and having a great time. When we're finished with our kefir grains, and here they are, we're going to rinse them off with water, filtered water preferably. Now, here we get a little bit to taste to see what kind of a batch it was. How is it, Chrissy? Pretty goaty for you?
It's goaty.
Yeah, it is goaty.
It's very goaty.
I've gotten used to it.
Yeah, but it's yogurty.
Yeah.
It's kefiry. I think I'll try this with cow's milk.
Yeah, I think that you should. That's quite a strong batch, Chris, just so you know.
This is a strong batch?
It is.
Okay.
It's usually a bit milder.
And is it a strong batch because it was in for 2 days?
That's correct.
Instead of like just a day and a half?
A day and a half.
I see. So if it stays longer, it's less sweet.
That's correct. That is correct. So now what we're going to do is we've cleaned our holding jar for our kefir grains. So now we're going to take and rinse them off really well. The idea of filtered water on them is very attractive to me because I know that they're getting the best possible rinsing with the fewest number of contaminants. Okay. Now, again, I use a plastic spoon. I don't put metal on these living creatures. And then we just put them back. And
they look beautiful, actually.
Lovely.
And it's all bacteria, pretty much.
It is, yeah.
And that's what you've grown.
That's right. And it started with a piece that was about that size.
Talk about kitchen counter gardening.
But it took me 2 years to get this.
That's 2 years?
That's 2 years.
Wow.
Making kefir every second week. Now, if you end up using these grains for milk, then they will multiply even more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's as a result of use that
Okay.
that they grow.
So that'll be another experiment on another day.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Good. So then we're going to take our tops. Now these are from the Mason Jar Company. These plastic tops, they're much handier than the double part tops for mason jars. So now these will go in the fridge and they'll be good for a couple of weeks. You won't
Okay.
have any problem at all with them.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's great.
Yay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.